Hi, I'm Miss Magda, and today we're going to be doing a science experiment about sinking and floating. So, to get started, let's talk about why things sink or why they float in water. So, when an object is denser than water, it sinks. And when an object is less dense than water, it floats. Whoa, what did I even just say? Let's break it down. Objects are made up of tiny molecules, and when those molecules are really tightly packed together, an object is denser and it sinks. When those tiny molecules are loose and spread out, an object is less dense and it floats. A great way for us to see this in action in terms of density of an object and whether or not something's going to sink or float is to use these little oranges called clementines. One still has its peel and the other I've already taken the peel off. So we're going to do an experiment. So let's take a few guesses as what we think is going to happen. How many of you think that both of these will sink in water? Do you think that maybe both will float in water? Does anyone think maybe one will float and one will sink? Let's find out. All right, so first I'm going to take the clementine that still has its peel. Do you think this one will sink or do you think it will float? Let's see. I'm going to put it in this jar of water. It's probably going to splash me. And look, it's floating. It didn't sink to the bottom. It's staying right on top of the water. All right, so now we have the one that already has the peel removed. So this one is now a little bit smaller than this one. Do you think it will sink or that it will float? Let's see. It's probably gonna splash me again. Wow, it sinks. Look, this one went to the bottom and this one stayed at the top. Why do you think we got these results? This one is floating, this one is sinking. Sometimes we think that just because something is heavier than something else, it will sink more quickly, or just that it will sink in general compared to the object that's lighter. This is an example where that's not the case because the clementine with the peel is still technically heavier than the clementine without the peel. So it's not always about weight, it's about density, which is what I talked about earlier. The peel around the clementine impacts the density of the entire clementine. This peel has tiny little air pockets, and those air pockets are really spread out. Therefore, just like I said earlier with the molecules, whenever you have the tiny molecules that are really loose and spread out, it makes an object less dense. And so therefore, it floats because it's not denser than water. When we remove the peel from the clementine, like we did here, it sank, as we can see. And when we removed that peel, we removed the thing that had all those tiny air pockets. And so now we have an object that has molecules really tightly together, and therefore it's denser than water, and so it sinks. How cool is that? Hopefully you learned something about sinking and floating. And it's not always about the weight of something and whether one object is heavier than another. Other things like density impact whether something will sink or float as well. I hope you enjoyed that and I hope you learned something. Again, I'm Miss Magda. Go learn and be kind.